Okay, let's walk you through turning everything on for a service or a practice. So here we have our Mac computer. This is for the computer to the leftmost, that's for the overheads and sound that goes out to the sanctuary for music and for like background music on Spotify. And then there's one of these hiding behind here that hopefully we can get out, so they'll just be sitting next to each other for you. But on the back corner, right around the back corner, there's a little button. You press that. When you hear that noise, you know you've turned it on. This other one doesn't have that noise, and right now the button is hidden behind a little lever in the back corner, and I just have to jam my finger in there until the screen up top comes on. And once this turns blue, then you know it's coming on for you. So while those load, we're going to come over here. Hopefully I'm not making you too dizzy. And over here we have these switches. So because we have these switches, there is no need to fiddle around the back of the soundboard and turn that on and off, because these switches take care of all of that for us. So we have on first. So when we're turning it on, we do this one first. And this is just to make sure that we don't hurt our speakers, because if we turn them on in the wrong order, then it'll do a pop, and over time that can end up ruining your speakers. Then you need new speakers. So that is the purpose for this. So first we're turning on the soundboard. You wait until it all lights up, and then we turn on second on, and that actually turns the speakers on. This is just for the soundboard and computers back here and the camera, and then this is for the actual speakers, getting power to them. And then when you want to start your practice, you want to put your mains up, -5 to 0, depending on where your sound person has it. And then over here we have our different, it says Pastor Seth, but right now he's using the handheld. This is the over the ear that we have. We also have a handheld that goes to that same box as well, so you can use either one of those. Handheld is what we're normally using for the speaking mic. And then here we have our main vocal, some different vocals, some extras that we don't use. And then we have keys 1, keys 2, guitar 1, guitar 2, guitar 3, bass. Most of these, not all, are labeled up on the back wall as well as on the in-ears currently. And then over here, that's channel 1 through 16. This board actually has 32 channels, and so all of our drums are on channel 32. And we have this one muted because that channel stopped working. So we have all the drums here. Ideally, we'd want at least 7 drum mics, but right now we just have the 5. And then if we're going to play music from the computer, then we're going to go to the aux in. And you can see right here that has a DVD that we've never used in the last 4 years, and a media one that I have no idea what that is. But this media, green aux 1, is the sound coming from our computer. So we don't want that on all the time in case there's a little, because sometimes computers make noises when they have an error or a pop-up. So we want to have that muted at all times unless we are playing music. Now when we go to unmute it, we want the volume to be all the way down, and we want to unmute, and then we want to slowly turn it up until we start hearing the volume of the song that we're listening to. So let's practice making some of that happen for a moment. So over here, coming to New Day, the password for this computer is one that everyone can know. In the office, we have different passwords that are not for everyone to know. And of course, the mouse is not working right when I'm trying to do this. There we go. And so the login, now all of the logins, let me try not to make you too dizzy. All of the logins are over here in this little packet here. There's logins for both the computers and the old computer that's still here, but that we don't use at all. That's hiding in here underneath the new one. That's there. That login is there too if we want to clean that up and try to sell it or use it for something else. But here, this computer for the slides, the login is New Day, capital N, lowercase EW, capital D, lowercase AY, 701, and then enter. And then we wait for that to load. Now this computer over here for the cameras and live stream has a different password, and it starts with 701, so 701, and then capital N for New Day, but then all the rest of the letters are lowercase, EWDAY, enter. Okay, so now over here, down here at the bottom, we have Spotify. That's what we currently use. If we're just going to have prayer time, then we go to this soaking music playlist because it doesn't have any words, so it won't distract those who are hard of hearing who are trying to listen to the prayers. And then other than that, we use the Worship 2025 at the beginning and end of services. So we'll click on Praise the Lord. And want to click that play button, and then here you want to make sure that this timer is moving. That means sound is now being sent. And then if there's ever any issues with sound, we want to just check over here and make sure the volume's actually turned up, because if someone turns that down, no matter what we do at the soundboard, nothing will happen. And then over here you can see we have 2 greens and a yellow blinking. That's what we want. And then we can start turning this up slowly until we hear it and get to the desired level that we want. And then at the end of the service, we want to turn it down very slowly until it's all the way down, and then mute it. So one of the issues we've found on our live stream is that and we want to make sure Ecamm says stream and record. And then if you can't see the window that has the sound levels I'm going to talk about, you just go to Window, Sound Levels. And then so up here, we keep that muted while service is preparing. And then once we turn that Spotify music off and mute it, and then they stop it at the other computer, that's when we would click unmute during service, and so we would just click this button that says mute, and now it's unmuted. And we do that just because when we have the music running in the background, sometimes the places that we send it to can tell it is copyrighted music, and so then it makes our whole video for the Sunday service go to silent because it's keeping the copyrighted music from going out. So then over here, the other things we want to do, so first there's volume. So when we're working on let's say we want to hear Keith Moore, we put the volume up. Now the first thing, so there's 2 most important things with the soundboard. First is volume, and that's the sliders, volume sliders. And that's what we're hearing here in the house, in the sanctuary. It's what's coming out of these speakers here. That's the volume. And then we have the second most important thing. There's tons of things to learn on here, but these are the ones that are most important, is our gain. So in order to use gain, what that does is it takes the signal coming from the stage and brings it into the board. And so we want to make sure we have enough of that signal coming in. So I'm going to use our music as an example because that's running and I can't be in 2 places at once. So see how this is 2 green with 1 yellow blinking? If that was a musician on the stage, we actually want this gain to have at least 2 yellow. So we're going to select it, and then we want to go up here and turn our gain up. So the gain is now showing up here. It's showing in the channel, and then it's also showing up here because we pressed that select button. So we can look at it here or there, whichever one. And now we're going to turn this gain up until we see 2 yellow blinking, and then a 3rd, like occasionally blinking. And that's that. We want to do that with all of the instruments. I'm going to click that. So we want to do that with all of these instruments that we're using, or vocals, because that gain does two things. It brings enough signal into the board so that we can do what we want with it, first. And then second, well, I guess three things. Second, it sends the signal out to the in-ears that the musicians are using. And so if this only has like one green, then it's not sending enough signal back out to the in-ears so that the people on stage can put as much of that instrument in their ear as they want to. So if anyone's saying, I can't really hear so-and-so, and they have it cranked up in their in-ear, that is because this here, the gain needs to be louder. Now, the other thing is anytime we change gain, that also changes what's happening on the live stream sound. So then we would need to test the live stream sound if we make any changes there. So over here, to do the live stream sound, we would come over here, and it's actually on, I believe, bus 1. Yeah, so we have our group, and then we have our bus 1 through 8. Bus 1 through 8 is where we have groups of things. So we have vocals in a group. So if all the vocals, let me do this. I'm going to select this. And then when I press this button here, when I press one of these buttons on this side, and then this button here, it's going to show us what is being sent to this group. So right now that's not pressed. So it's just showing us what's being sent to the main speakers that are in the house here. And so then when we press one of these groups and then press this button, send, it says sends on fader. Now you're going to see everything's going to move. And that's showing us what is being sent to this group. So if you're listening to practice and you're like, I love all of the levels except for all the voices are too quiet, then that's when we would use this over here to change all of the voices at once. If it's just one voice, we wouldn't want to use the group. You'd just want to have that off and come over here and adjust the volume slider for that particular voice. And that would be the same thing if all the instruments were too quiet. You could come over here. You could use the slider over here for the instruments and all of the instruments. Again, let me show you. If we press this button up here above the instruments, and then this button here, and that turns red, and everything's going to move. You can see that all the instruments are in there. Same thing over here. It's going to move again. If we go to the drums, and I'm going to click that button above the drums, everything is off on this channel here because there's no drums at this level. On this level, here's where the drums are, so now it's going to move. All those drums are going in to this drum group right here. And so those are just groups. So it's the same idea for online. Online is really grouping everything. And so it's going to move again here. Let me show you. And so this is how the drums are set up online. And we always want the snare drum and the kick drum to be really easily heard. And for some reason right now the snare drum is muted, so we're going to unmute that. And I'm going to save that in a moment and show you how. So we have snare, kick, high, tom, mid. We want to hear all these. And during a bridge of a song is the best time to check and see if those toms are coming through well. But the snare and the kick really need to be most prevalent. So the snare, and when you look here, it looks like, oh, the snare's quieter than all the rest. But that is probably because this gain is higher and also the snare is really loud. So we don't want to judge where we put the volumes based on where they look on the slider. We only want to move the slider in relation to what we hear in our ears that we need more of. So that's on. So we're looking at what's online right now. Now let me turn this off and look at what the drums look like in the house. So in what we're hearing live. So this one's all the way off. That snare and that kick are here because things are going to carry differently in the house than online. So we don't just want to duplicate everything that we do in-house online. We want to listen to what's online and make decisions from there. So let's look at how to do that. So we have online, click here, and now if we wanted to record practice so that we can make sure online on Sunday is going to have good levels. We don't do this every week. Just once in a while I'll listen and hear that something seemed off. Or any time that we change the gain for something, then we're going to, let me get back to where we can see the gain. Anytime we're going to change the gain for something, that's when we also want to change what's going on online, because that gain is when we turn the gain up here, so that we have more signal going to the in-ears for people, then we also are going to turn up the gain in the volume online. So anytime you turn up gain in the house, you'll notice it gets louder because more signal is being sent to the board. So then you'll need to turn down the volume for what you're doing in the house. So let's say Pastor Seth's, we'll pretend this is Pastor Seth. Pastor Seth's talking, but we can't really hear him very well in the in-ears, or maybe on the line he's not loud enough. So we're going to decide to turn up his gain so that we have those two solid yellows with a little bit of a blinking third yellow. So now we have great gain, but now we want to but let's say his volume was here. And so now you'll notice when you do that his voice gets turned up. So now you want to turn this volume down in the house because the gain turned the volume up. So anytime you turn gain up, you're going to want to turn the volume down so that we're not blasting our eardrums. Anytime you turn the gain down, you're going to want to turn the volume up for the live stuff. Now, anytime we turn the gain up here, we then also want to check what's going on online. Hopefully I'm making some sense. I know I'm going in circles a little bit. So to check what's going on online, we'd want to first record. So up here in Ecamm, we want stream and record during service, otherwise it won't send out. But when we are just checking levels during a practice, we only want the record on. So we want only record, and then it would say record only here. Then down here we would press record. And then when we're done recording, we would press finish, end recording. And then this little box is going to pop up in the middle here. We can press OK, but I would strongly suggest clicking on Show File, because it'll just automatically take you to where you saved that file, and it'll be the first one highlighted in blue. And if I double click on this, it'll come up on this other screen. And that was the little video we just recorded that we don't really need because we weren't doing anything. But I do have some other videos saved here. This was one from a recent practice. And so then what we would do is we would press play on here, and then we would use these headphones right here that are connected to the screen under here. And then we'd be able to listen to, and we'd want to scroll the video to somewhere where everyone's playing and singing. I want to look for Keith's mouth to be moving so I can make sure that he's singing too. And then I would listen with my ears. Can I hear Courtney's guitar? Can I hear Keith's guitar? Can I hear Courtney's voice the most because she's leading most of the time? Can I hear Keith's beautiful harmony that he has going on, but make sure it's loud enough to hear it, but not so loud it's overpowering the melody going on? Can I hear Rachel's voice enough that she's not overpowering the lead singer, but she's also loud enough, especially if it's a Sunday where she's going to be leading some parts of a song. Is she loud enough that we can definitely hear her, but she's not overpowering? So as we have this triangle here, we always want the lead vocal to be the most prominent, because that's the one everyone's going to be following. And then we want the other vocals to be the next thing that we can hear really well. But then we want to make sure we can hear all of the instruments really well too. And so it's not that the instruments are quieter, we just want to make sure that the vocals are loud enough that the instruments are not drowning them out at all, so that people can sing along, because we're not here to have a concert, we're here to have people sing along with us. And so then let's say I was listening to this and I'm like, oh, I see Keith's mouth moving, but I don't hear anything coming out. So then I would go over here to the board, and I would make sure to press online. These two are connected, so either one you press is fine. It says online 1, online 2. It's just right and left, but they're completely connected. They do the same thing. So anything you change on one will automatically change on the other. So you can just click on any one of them. I usually just do online 1. Then we want to make sure this is blinking, so it's actually working with the online stuff and not the in-house stuff. And then we come over here, and I would be like, okay, here's Keith. He's not quite loud enough, so I'm just gonna bump him up a little bit. So right now he's at like -5, just a little bit. The higher up you go, the larger the adjustment is. So you really don't need to move it very much. Just a little bit, even one line is usually enough. But then down low here, you could move 5 lines and it not make a huge difference. So when you do make an adjustment, however big or small, you then want to come back over and do all of the recording stuff again and all of the listening again to make sure if that was enough of an adjustment or maybe a little bit too much. And so then you can adjust some more at that time. So that is everything you really need to know for sound with our soundboard. The other thing is that when you are doing the sound in a live room, it is very important. So I turned that off. So now we're going back to what's in the room currently coming through. When you're in a room, you always want to walk around and listen. So I'm going to do that with you. I know this is a weird video, but you want to think of this room as a grid pattern. And I would think of it in like, maybe it's not a very large room, so maybe 6 to 9 squares. And so we want to come in the middle of the room. This is where it should be the ideal sound. The middle, where you have half the rows behind you, half the rows in front of you, and you're standing in the middle of the aisle. This is where all of exactly what you want to hear should be coming from these speakers. But what happens is when you move around the room, you want to do this while the band is playing. When you move around the room in different areas, you'll realize, oh, I can't hear Courtney over here at all. But over here, I can hear her really, really well. So you have to ask yourself, is it okay that she's a little bit louder over here, even though I can hear her well, so that the people over here can hear her better? And you can do that you want to do that with all of the different instruments. You want to go to each section of your grid pattern. So you're going to come over here. I'm going to come in the middle of these chairs here. And you want to listen to every voice and every instrument and make sure you're hearing them the same way that you were hearing them in the back. And the other thing is, it might be a lot louder out here than it was at the back of the room in the sound. So you might decide that you're going to go back and just turn the mains down because everything's a little too loud. And then the other thing to keep in mind with that is that you also want to consider the fact that, I'm sorry, my brain is not braining at the moment. Go back. Oh yeah. When you go back, you also want to consider the fact that once this room fills up with people, they're going to soak up some of the sound. So if you feel like, oh, this sounds great out here, then it's going to sound a little bit quiet when church starts. So you always want to find what sounds great and then turn it up just a little bit. Not like a huge amount, just a little line or two on the board. So let's go back here again and let me show you that. So if you decided that one of the guitars wasn't loud enough, then you'd come back here and you'd turn the guitar up a little. If you decided everything was too loud, then you could turn it down. Just one click is usually going to be enough to test it, especially up this high. Everything's too quiet. Just one click higher, and then you'd want to go back out to that spot where you saw the issue and see if your ears are happier about that now. Because you always want to start with that as a great level. So let's say you're at this -5 and you're like, this sounds great. up in the middle of the church and all around in the different spots. Everything sounds great. It can hear everything really well. Then you want to just bump it up about one line worth or two to make sure that it's loud enough when we get all the bodies in the room. Especially if it's a day where there's a lot of people, you're going to want to bump it up even a little bit more than normal. And then also the other thing to remember is to don't get stuck on where the sliders are. If you're like, well, every Sunday I come in and this slider's at -5. So every Sunday it has to be at -5. That you have no idea. Someone may be using a different guitar than they normally do, Keith, or someone might be having a really strong voice day, so they're singing louder than they normally do, so you might need to turn them down a little. Someone might be struggling with a cold, so they're not singing as loud as normal, so you might need to push them up a little. So you always want to go by your ears and not by what you're seeing on here. The only thing we care about what we see is when we are looking at this gain, we want to make sure we always have 2 orange at the height, when it's loudest. You want to have 2 green, 2 solid orange, and just a little bit of the blinking on that 3rd orange. Because if we do that when it's quiet, then when it's loud, this is going to peak. So let me just show you. The sound is off and muted, so you won't hear it. But if we turn the gain up too much on a loud part, then this is going to turn red, and that's where we can start hurting our speakers. And so we don't want to live in that red zone. We want to, and notice how there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orange. So if on a loud part we have 2 green and 2 orange with 1 other orange blinking occasionally, then we will never have to worry about hurting our speakers and having to buy new ones for that reason. So this is everything I can think. Oh, no. Okay. So we've done everything with setting up sound, doing the online sound, all the things that really matter for the sound aspects. And then for this sound board, here's a couple things I want to show you. So I'm going to change the name of this. Anything you want to do to any of these channels, you just press the select at the top. And so if you ever wanted to learn more about gate or compression or EQing or how to send them to the in-ears, that's all available to learn. There's lots of great videos online. You would just want to do Behringer X32 and then how do you use the gate. But that stuff is really more intricate for people who really know a lot about sound. Mostly those people have gone to college for sound. Or have done a lot of work on this on their own. So that stuff is not necessary for what we need here at New Day. I just wanted to let you know that that exists, but it's not necessary. And so everyone doesn't need to know how to do all of this stuff, but it would be great if a couple people knew everything I'm telling you about today. So for what we're going to do for this example, we are going to change P chord. We're just going to call it lead vox or lead voc. VOX means vocal. And so over here, to change that, let me remind myself how to do it. I believe it is setup. And let me find it here. Yep, there it is. Okay, so let me clear out of here. So from the home screen, we would then go to setup. I don't do this very often. And then it normally comes to this global thing that we don't do anything with. And we just want to press this right arrow to move over till we see name icon. So we can change if there's a picture in there. I took all the pictures out and left it blank because then if the pictures are in there, then the words are smaller. And I like bigger words because I'm going blind. And then we have all of the voices as this color, so we'll just leave that. All we want to do is edit the name there. So right now it says P Court. Now this cursor is a little bit weird to work with the first time you do it, so just have fun. You're not going to hurt anything. You can fix anything that happens. Here's our select button, our backspace. So when it's backspace, if you turn it, it just moves the cursor, but what we want to do is delete. So we're actually just we're gonna press the button down. So it looks like a knob, but it's a knob and a button. I'm gonna press that to get rid of all of it. And we're gonna call it Lead Vox. So we're gonna come down. So this one you'll see has right and left. If you turn it, it goes right and left on the keyboard. And then this one has up and down on the keyboard. You see that yellow box moving on the letters. And then here we have caps. So we're gonna do a capital L. I'm gonna move over this way and select to press in to select it. And then it automatically, because I didn't do a caps lock, it automatically went back to lowercase. And so now we want to go find an E. My arms are getting tired holding this phone. Good thing we're almost done. E, and then we want to press the button to select it, and then A, and select. Any one of them will select it, even if it's not the same one you were just turning. And then a D, oop, that's up and down. D, there we go. And then we want a space, so then we come down to the space bar. And then I'm gonna do VOC, because I don't think we have any other voxes on here, because people were confused of what that meant, because they haven't done sound previously. So we're gonna just stick with voc, just to not confuse anyone. Oh, and we want caps. So I just did the caps, and now we're gonna select that letter. And then we're gonna find an O. Why are you not moving? Oh, because I'm turning the wrong one. It's a problem with looking through your phone. V-O, and then go and find the C. I know this is taking forever. You are welcome to fast forward any parts. So, because I had moved the backspace cursor to the wrong spot, so now I put those in the wrong spot. See, you can make mistakes and then just fix them. So we're gonna go back to, we want that O, and then the C. Okay, good. Now it says lead voc, and so we're just going to press select. Oh, somehow it got me off of that. Okay, how can we do that? Oh, there we go, lead voc. So lead voc, and then we want to close it because we're done. And so now it says lead voc up here instead of P. Courtney, and we're all done. So we can just leave the screen. I'm going to press this home button just to get off of it. And then you come over here, and instead of it saying P. Courtney, now it says lead voc. So that's all of that, just change that. The more you do it and the less you're holding a phone in your hand, the quicker you can go. And then the one other thing that I would like people to know how to use this board, these are all the things that I've done while I've been here. I haven't done anything more than this except occasionally messing with EQing, gate and compression, but you really need to understand those really well, and I don't, so I'm very careful when I do it. But we had some people visiting that knew it very well, and I was like, hey, will you do this for me while you're here? And that was great. So over here we have scenes. So this is really cool. Let's say you have a Sunday and the sound is amazing. You listen online and the sound is amazing. You want to save that. So if there's ever a day where it's like, this is not working today, you can just go load that list that you saved. So this is a cool thing that nobody knows about yet. So we come up here, we press this view button in scenes, because view will bring it up to be on here instead of normally that's the home screen that's up there. So we come over here to scenes, press view. And then over here using our arrows, we're gonna go over until it says scenes. So normal Sunday is the setup that we usually use. And then we have an Easter 2025 that we use. Then we have a bunch of other ones that are just old that don't even need to be there. So then I'm going to move the cursor with one of these. There we go. name, so this Bill one, that was when Pastor Bill was speaking with a different microphone. Nope, that was 2020. So that's Bill, that's way old. We don't need that anymore. So let's say today was amazing. So I'm just going to edit it. So because we know we don't want this one. Keep the normal Sunday, keep the Easter 2025. They might be usable for you in the future. But let's say we're gonna do this one. We're gonna edit and we're gonna rename it just like we did the other stuff, doing this crazy stuff. So I'm gonna do this. You're gonna have a glare. And backspace, backspace, backspace. And then I'm just gonna put today's date. And I'm gonna start with the month, day, year, because everything will then be in order. And if you save, I know it's weird that America has month, day, year, but if you save all of your documents with that day's date and then what the document is, it's always really easy to find it in your computer later because everything will be in alphabetical order in the file. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So let's just call it today's date. So we need numbers. So I'm going to come down here and select to get numbers. So now we have some numbers we can work with. And we're gonna, today is the April. And then we want a slash. Are there any slashes? Not on this screen. There might be another one. But I'm just going to, there's no dash either. I wonder what happens if I press this again. Oh, the slash is on the letter screen. Okay. So slash, I'm actually going to put the other slash there and then do a backspace so I don't have to come back here. And I know you're watching me do this. I just thought it would be better to put everything so I don't forget anything than to make a bunch of little videos that I might forget stuff. So let's see here. And then for the date is, it doesn't have it on this computer. Let's call it the 16th because it's close to that. So 1 and 6. And then we'll just use this backspace button to go in front of that slash I already did. And then the year, 2025. And then we're going to press save. It says save right there. And it's going to ask, oh, you want to overwrite this? And I'm going to say, yes, I do want to overwrite this, and just press this select again. And actually, it has this date. So now I want to click over here. So there's, some of them have a name and a note. To switch between those two, you just click this button here. So now it's the note, and I'm just going to delete that whole thing. So you could do like the title and then the date there if you wanted to, but I'd rather just do the date and then save. And yes, I do want to rename it. So now this is what we have set up just today. This normal Sunday is a good one. We're going to keep that. I would suggest re-going to that one if you ever have any issues, just going to this normal Sunday. So let's say everything was a little bit weird. Oh, let's say you had a great Sunday, and you just are going to save it over the one you already have because you know that everything in-house and everything online was great. So let me also look here. Online sends. So online it's sending Seth's mic, the lead vocal, Keith, and vocal 3 is unmuted. Then it has keys 1 and guitar 1 are all, and guitar 2 are all unmuted, as well as all of the drums. I want to mute that drum. And then that media is muted. So everything's muted that needs to be muted. Everything's unmuted that needs to be unmuted. And so I'm going to save it here. And so that will automatically save. Okay, so what we did is we did save. We clicked on one that we want to save it as. We're going to do save and then save and then confirm the save. And so all that did was save all of the changes that we made today into this scene so that we can access it again in the future if we want to. Okay. I'm always available if you have any questions.